Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're covering Chris Stuckmann's Attack of the Clones video. His review of Attack of the Clones is much worse than the Phantom Menace one. That's why I'm covering it. Just like last time, we will only be covering things I disagreed with and, things that I found worth covering. Let's get into it.
What most people expected episode 2 to be about was Anakin getting darker, closer to that dark side, discovering that evil side of him. But it's really just a romance. He runs into Padme and they fall in love together, and that's essentially what Attack of the Clones is about.
Attack of the Clones has both of what you described. It shows Anakin start his descent into the dark side, as we see with the Tusken Raiders sequence, and it also shows how Anakin and Padme would eventually fall in love with each other.
Now, in the first scene in the film, there's an attempt on Padme's life, and her decoy gets blown up. Now, she suspects that Count Dooku is behind this assassination attempt, and Mace Windu instantly denies this, saying he was once a Jedi. He says it's just not in Dooku's character to commit a crime like that. Now, let me get this straight. If Dooku was once a Jedi, does that mean that you can suddenly not be a Jedi and just kind of quit being a Jedi? If that were so, wouldn't that mean that your ideals have changed and that maybe it is in his character to be bad? Mace Windu? All-powerful Jedi? Who's really fucking dumb?
You do understand you can leave the Jedi and suddenly not be a bad guy, right? As Kiadi-Mundi says right before May starts talking, to them Dooku is a
political idealist
and a former Jedi who sought to keep the peace. To the Jedi at this point in time, it is not within his character, but we the viewer know that is not the case.
So anyway, this assassin is after Padme, and rather than just fill her room with gas as she's sleeping, or shoot her or something, a little droid cuts holes into the glass and drops worms, into her room? Killer worms? Worst assassin ever! I mean, worms? What?
Chris, for some reason, leaves out the fact that the droid was instructed to do so by Jango Fett. Jango literally says in the film that they have to be subtle, then hands Sam the container with the worms.
We'll have to try something more subtle this time, Sam. My client is getting impatient. Take these.
Even if the droid was instructed to use poisonous gas, the Jedi still would have sensed something was wrong and would have gotten Padme out the room.
The part where Anakin jumps out of a car and Obi-Wan is like, I hate when he does that. I mean, does that happen a lot where Anakin just jumps out of cars from really high places, plummets down Coruscant and lands perfectly on the enemy vehicle? Is that what Obi-Wan hates that he does? What does that actually mean?
He is referring to Anakin doing things that he considers reckless. It is weird that you cannot understand that.
Once they capture this assassin, she is just about to tell them who hired her, and a toxic dart gets into her neck, and Jango Fett blasts off from really far away. Now, if this guy is so on top of things that he can shoot this girl from however many yards away, why didn't he just assassinate Padme? I guarantee if Jango Fett had been in there, he wouldn't have used worms.
Jango did not kill Padme himself because he did not have a way of getting to her without alerting the guards. Once again, as Jango himself says, they had to be subtle. When the droid goes towards the window, we can clearly see the window is shielded. If they had to use the droid to get through the shield, we can infer that Jango nor Sam could get through the shield. It is also weird you say Jango wouldn't use the worms when he is the one who gave the worms to Sam.
Take these.
He wouldn't have used worms. The scenes that follow show us that George Lucas is using the same technique he did in Phantom Menace to give us information. People are just walking around in boring blue screen rooms in which they give us exposition and things we need to know. That's all it is. Just a whole bunch of scenes of people walking around going, oh, yes. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, what's this all about? Well, I heard that there was a planet there once, but it seems to be struck from the records. I don't understand this. Yoda and these younglings, please show us. Oh, you did it magically. Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
How else is Lucas supposed to give us this information? How else is Obi-Wan going to learn about Kamino, about it being wiped from the records, and about its position in the galaxy if it were to exist?
But if there's just one thing that Lucas should have gotten right with this movie, it's the deep, dark unrest that's boiling inside of the character of Anakin. But he seems to confuse that with being a whiny brat, because that's all Anakin is in this entire movie. A constant, never-ending complainer.
He's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair.
Obi-Wan never lets me do this. Obi-Wan never lets me do that.
How does Lucas get it wrong? You're equating Anakin being frustrated and venting about Obi-Wan to being whiny. Anakin, in his own mind, feels as if he is being held back by Obi-Wan and decides to let out his frustration by venting to Padme.
Also in this film, Anakin has major creeper face, like every time Padme's nearby. The guy looks like he's about to assault her. Now, Jedis apparently are forbidden to love, as this idea was introduced in Attack of the Clones. Jedis can never bang. No love. That's bad. So how are they supposed to fucking procreate? Like, what does that mean? How do Jedis procreate if they can't love? They just look for people to breed with? That's so dumb. How do you create more of your kind? You just find people and teach them, I guess. You can never have children, though. Or maybe you're allowed to have children as long as you don't love your mate. George Lucas, you're making everything awful with this writing.
The writing is not bad, Chris. It makes sense that Jedi who are supposed to be devoid of attachments can't fall in love. If the Jedi want to procreate, they can leave the Order or defy the Code. They can do whatever they want. As for the whole love stuff, I believe Anakin explains it the best.
Attachment is forbidden. Possession is forbidden. Compassion, which I would define as unconditional love, is central to a Jedi's life. And so you might say that we are encouraged to love.
So Obi-Wan now reports some of his findings to Mace Windu and Yoda, who are still sitting around in a room doing nothing.
I think it is time we inform the Senate that our ability to use the Force is diminished.
What do you want Jedi who are not involved in the conflict to do? They do not know the full extent of what is going on. This is a huge nitpick.
But what I hate about this scene is they're now entering an asteroid field, okay? Two little ships going into an asteroid field. What other Star Wars movie had an asteroid field scene? That would be The Empire Strikes Back. Do you remember how they set up that scene? Do you remember how everyone was terrified? How Han and Leia were like, I don't know about this. This is a horrible idea. They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they? And C-3PO's like, Sir, the odds of surviving an asteroid field, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, never tell me the odds. And they go into the asteroid field, and that tension is built up because they set it up as a scary event, something that is hard to do, that requires a lot of skill. What happens in episode 2? There's asteroids. They're going inside of them. No tension, no suspense, no build-up, nothing. Just, let's fly in the asteroid field. We can do it. We're perfect.
It's almost like Jango is using the asteroid field to his advantage. The situation we see in Attack of the Clones is different from the one in Empire. In Empire, their group is being chased by the Empire, attempting to flee from Hoth. In Attack of the Clones, Jango is being tailed by Obi-Wan and using the asteroid field to lose and or kill Obi-Wan.
So Anakin starts having these nightmares about his mother being in pain. He says that Jedi don't have nightmares, apparently. Why? I mean, why can't Jedi have nightmares? It's like Lucas spent 30 years trying to think of all the things that Jedi can and can't do. Because they're not people, they're robots. They can't have love, they don't have nightmares, they just sit around in rooms and talk. That's what Jedis do.
What the fuck are you talking about? Anakin is clearly deflecting and trying to avoid the conversation about his mother. Anakin is not saying Jedi do not have nightmares. It is not what we go through.
We meet Count Dooku. Now, this should have been a very dark and scary experience. Instead, we get this older gentleman sitting behind a table talking to people. That's Count Dooku. He's just like this cool guy who's a nice older man. Looks handsome, you know. Just behind the table, just talking. That's Count Dooku.
It's almost as if the film never established Dooku as this dark, Vader-like character. The film establishes his character as a political figure who just so happened to be a next Jedi.
As I was watching this movie, slowly but surely, I began to think I was watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know, a movie in which real people interact with cartoons. Because seeing Mace Windu in this blue screen environment just flailing his purple lightsaber everywhere and then talking to a floating CGI Yoda and looking at creatures that don't exist, I'm just like, is this really just a cartoon with some real people in there every once in a while?
I never really understood the CGI argument because a lot of what we see would not be possible without CGI. All the Jedi are real, the Geonosian arena was real. Just because Lucas chose to use CGI for the clones, droids, and walkers to tell the story doesn't make it bad. Sure, You can say the effects are dated, however, I think harping on the use of CGI for a large-scale battle is weird.
Now Yoda shows up. Let's talk about that. He takes his lightsaber, he starts jumping around and flipping and everything, and it's nuts. And people loved it for some reason. Some people really like that scene. I don't know why. It's one of the dumbest moments in the entire saga. What does Yoda say in The Empire Strikes Back? He says the Force is not about muscle, this crude matter here. No, it's not about that. Remember that? It's not about your lightsaber. It's not about flailing around. It's not about doing fucking barrel rolls in the air.
Do a barrel roll! Do a barrel roll! Use the boost to chase! Use the boost to get through! You're becoming a better pilot.
I do not see the issue with Yoda fighting Dooku. Yoda shows up to save Obi-Wan and Anakin, and in an age where Jedi use their lightsabers, it's not shocking that Yoda uses a lightsaber. Dooku literally decides to engage Yoda in a lightsaber duel because he is outclassed by Yoda in the Force. It can easily be inferred that Yoda is using the Force in some way to move him. This is a non-issue.
Nothing about Attack of the Clones works.
You cannot like the film and not like the execution of a sequence. However, most of Chris's points in this video either ignore context, are based on what he wanted and then got mad he did not get, or comparing scenes to different movies that have completely different context to them. If you watch the original video, you will see I did not cover most of his video. What I did not cover, I did not agree with, but they were his own opinions. CGI critiques, opinions on lines or dialogues or acting was not worth covering. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.